Do you remember this guy? I showed this video during one of our daytime live streams. He's a pro-Hamas activist in the Greater Toronto area who came up with a scheme. He would go to a Jewish restaurant, order a coffee, have someone film him, and he would return the coffee saying it tastes like blood. And it looks like he brought his daughter along for the whole anti-Semitic scheme. Take a look at this.
For humanitarian purpose, they made a mistake and they bought from this company, so an Israeli company, where these guys are supporting Palestine, so we want to return it. They bought it by accident.
I understand. So, okay, what I'll do, I'll just give the drinks to you for free and then I'll refund the money.
Okay, we don't want to drink it. That's like drinking blood.
Okay.
For us, like, so we gotta support free Palestine, and you know how it is, right?
Yeah.
You know what's going on.
Yeah, and I totally
You know what's happening there, is genocide?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I feel so bad, nobody deserves that one, especially the kids.
Yeah.
I'll look into it and I'll give a refund.
Okay,
right?
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. God bless you. I know you're from Philippines, right?
Yeah.
Filipinos are good people. They always stand for human rights and for justice.
Yeah, I totally understand. I really feel so bad.
Yeah, thank you.
Just give me a second to see the...
Free Palestine.
I note that the restaurant he went to has got nothing to do with Israel. It's not part of the Israeli government. It's not run by Israelis. It's called Cafe Landwehr. It was started about 100 years ago in Berlin, Germany. It was run by Jews. They had to shut it down because of the Nazis. Now it's a small chain in Toronto. No Israeli connection. It was originally Jewish. It serves some Jewish food, it's true. I've been there. Most of the staff are regular Torontonians, as in from every background. In this case, it was a Filipino staffer. But this anti-Semitic bigot goes there for a stunt to harass the staff, to cause them an inconvenience, to make a scene, teaching his daughter how to hate because they're Jews, or at least he thought they were Jews. What a creep, what a weirdo, what a freak, what a bully, what an idiot. Well, apparently his name is Faris Al-Nijm, and he actually watched me talk about him the other day, because wouldn't you know it, when our video boss at Rebel News, Efron Monsanto, was attending an event in Mississauga as a journalist, he came up to us, this Faris fella, asked us if we were Rebel News. And when we said yes, he wanted to talk to us. He wanted to tell us a lot more at great length, actually, not to challenge what I had said about him, but to expand upon it. I'm going to show you the entire video because it's quite remarkable. I'll stop it from time to time to give you my thoughts. The first thing I want you to know, though, is that he called his event, and this is why our videographer was there, he called his event a Palestinian Remembrance Day event. In fact, he photoshopped the Palestinian flag colors onto the poppy. He deliberately tried to co-opt Remembrance Day for his Hamas terrorist friends. If you think I'm kidding, watch him say so.
Yeah, there's lots of independent media. Like, what's the name of it? What is it called? Rebel News? What is it called?
Actually, yeah, Rebel News. Yeah. Because I wanted to ask.
What's his name? Azra. What's his name?
Ezra Levant is the founder.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to ask. So this is called the Remembrance Day ceremony visual for the Palestinian martyrs. There's some controversy online that why would you conflate Remembrance Day for fallen soldiers of Canada with the Palestinian martyrs? What do you say to people who might say you shouldn't do that?
I mean, the peacekeepers that died keeping the peace for the Canadian history and for the Canadian nation, we respect them obviously, and we also remember them. Okay, but some wars were driven by the U.S. and unfortunately Canada fell in the trap and followed the path of the U.S. imperialist system, and they died in an unjust way. So that's a different situation. But here today we're remembering them as well, the peacekeepers that died, and also the Palestinians that are dying and getting killed for over 75 years of occupation. They deserve justice, they deserve to be recognized, they deserve to be respected, they deserve to be remembered.
So you're saying this is a rally for both Canadian veterans and Palestinian martyrs?
Yes, the Canadian veterans, like I said, that are specifically the ones that died in peacekeeping operations and projects like that. The ones, like I said, that were misled and taken into a war that it was not just, then no, we don't stand with them. I mean, and at the same time, we're upset that they were misled and they fell in that trap. But we stand with the Palestinian martyrs, we stand against the Zionist regime, and we stand with the Palestinian legitimate resistance, the ones that are fighting inside Palestine for their rights back. And we mean the resistance in Gaza, the ones that are even labeled terrorists.
Hang on, that's not what Remembrance Day is. He's saying Hamas terrorists need our Remembrance Day too. And he's saying 75 years of occupation, that's all very weird. By the way, Israel has left Gaza in 2005. It's been its own country for almost 20 years. And Israel did not have any territory in Gaza or the West Bank from the date Israel was born in 1948 till 1967, when Israel won those territories in a defensive war, when it was invaded simultaneously by half a dozen Arab countries. I don't know where the year 75 comes from, but a lot of things this guy says are completely made up or at odds with reality. But enough for me. I want you to see a little bit more what he's saying. He has taken the Remembrance Day name, which is a holiday in Canada, a very somber holiday, and he's using it to remember Hamas terrorists. Take a listen.
We don't call them terrorists. We say that they're anti-terrorists. Hamas is legitimate. It's popular. It's elected democratically by the Palestinians. They're obviously blockaded and divided from the West Bank, so they can't really unite with the West Bank. Same thing with Islamic Jihad. These are legitimate political parties, and they're also legitimate resistance. And also in the West Bank, some of these small groups or people that do individual operations to fight the Israeli occupation, they're also respected people and they're honored people.
So he's actually against Canadian soldiers. He's against World War I and World War II and Korea and Afghanistan. The real heroes, he says, are the terrorists. The only soldiers he says we should respect are those who died in peacekeeping, not ones who actually fought for our freedoms. He wants to take Remembrance Day, wring out the things we remember, and turn it into a Hamas Day. Here, listen to him talk some more.
I think that there's a biased way of dealing with the Palestinians. The Ukrainians are legitimate resistance against Russia, but when the Palestinians rise up, they call them terrorists, and we're against that fully, and we denounce that. And we're going to clarify that situation to the Canadian government and to the Canadian public, that the Palestinian resistance has a right. It's the only Palestinian resistance that is allowed or tolerable. Tolerated is only people on social media or on TikTok dealing with an apartheid system and an occupation and a cruel regime like the Israelis for 75 years.
He's saying this, I'm not saying this. He says he loves the terrorists. They're honorable. The barbaric rapes and murders and tortures and kidnappers, he loves that about them. Take a look.
We've seen what they did to Shireen Abu Akleh, a very well-known journalist for Al Jazeera. We've seen what they did to Muhammad Durra. He died right in his father's lap, getting killed by the Israelis. They always justify somehow. They always paint a little picture. And why these groups are labeled terrorists is because of Zionist lobbies such as CIJA, such as UJA, such as B'nai B'rith, friends of whatever their names is, this other organization with Michael Levitt.
Friends of Simon.
So these guys, they put pressure on certain politicians at a certain time, and they do their lobbying and pressuring and so on. You know, there's money involved, you know, big contracts, things like that. And they push their narrative and they push their projects on them, and then fully they put the Palestinian resistance as a terrorist organizations. And we reject that.
What is he saying? That in Canada, the Jews have big money contracts paying politicians? I'm not quite sure what he's saying. It's such a mishmash of conspiracy theories and smears. I don't know what he's saying. Hamas are terrorist groups. That's not a matter of opinion. That is what they do. That's a fact of law in Canada. They are officially listed as terrorist groups. And if you look at the plain motives that they have, it is to terrify people. They're not a genuine army that could beat the U.S. Army, the Canadian Army, or the Israeli Army in a traditional military battle. They're terrorists, and that they deliberately go after civilians to strike terror in people's hearts. And they do that for political gain. That is the dictionary definition of terrorism. He says, no, they are glorious heroes, and they're more worthy of Remembrance Day than the people in Canada who died over the last century for our freedom.